The alarm bells rang through the massive space station called Nexus Prime. The sound echoed in the long metal hallways where aliens from 12 different worlds walked quickly with worried faces. Something terrible had happened, and everyone knew it. Ambassador Tae-hyun rushed through the crowded corridors. His blue skin was darker than usual, which meant he was scared. The Velkari people always changed color when they felt strong emotions. Right now, Tae-hyun looked almost purple. With fear, he carried a datapad in his 4 hands. The information on it would shock everyone in the Galactic Council. For the first time in 300 years, someone had declared war on them. Not just any someone either. The humans from Earth had done it. The council chamber was huge. It could hold thousands of beings. And today, it was full. Representatives from every member world sat in their special seats. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and a few looked like giant insects. But they all had one thing in common. They were all afraid. Chairman Bo-Ram stood at the center podium. She was a Thessian, which meant she had 6 arms and gray skin like stone. Her voice was deep and calm, but her hands shook as she spoke. "Members of the council," Bo-Ram said, "we face something that has never happened before. A primitive species has attacked us. 3 of our patrol fleets are gone, completely destroyed." The chamber filled with noise as hundreds of aliens started talking at once. Some shouted in anger, others whispered in fear. A few even tried to leave their seats. "Silence!" Bo-Ram's voice boomed through the speakers. "Ambassador Tae-hyun will give us the details." Tae-hyun walked to the speaking platform. His legs felt weak, but he had to do his job. He touched his datapad, and a huge screen appeared above the chamber. It showed pictures that made everyone gasp. 3 days ago, Tae-hyun began, Fleet Group 7 was patrolling the Outer Rim, 50 ships with full crews. They met a human force of only 12 vessels. He paused and looked around the room. The human ships were smaller. They looked old and simple. Our commanders thought it would be easy. The screen showed what was left of Fleet Group 7. Twisted metal floated in space like broken toys. Not one council ship had survived. "How is this possible?" someone shouted from the crowd. Tae-hyun's skin turned even darker. "We don't know. The humans used weapons we have never seen before. Our shields did nothing. Our armor meant nothing. They cut through our ships like they were made of paper." A Manthari delegate stood up. The insect-like being clicked its mandibles nervously. "Perhaps it was luck. One battle means nothing." "That's what we thought too," Tae-hyun replied. He touched his pad again. New images appeared. Fleet Group 12 was sent to investigate. 75 ships this time. Elite crews with the best equipment we have. The second set of pictures looked just as bad as the first. More twisted metal, more empty space where proud warships used to be. "And Fleet Group 3? asked a small voice from the back. Tae-hyun nodded slowly. 100 ships, our finest, led by Admiral Zoth himself. The screen showed a third battlefield. This one was worse than the others. Admiral Zoth sent one message before he died. He said the human weapons ignore our shields completely. They hit targets from impossible distances, and their ships move in ways that should not be possible. The chamber fell silent. 225 ships destroyed. Over 40,000 trained warriors dead, all killed by a species that most council members thought were barely smart enough to build fire. Chairman Bo-Ram cleared her throat. "The humans have also sent us a message." She looked tired and old. "They say we have been stealing from their worlds for 60 years. They say we treat them like animals. They demand we stop and pay for what we have taken." "Ridiculous," shouted someone from the Draxon section. "They are a primitive species. They have no rights under council law." "They seem to disagree," Tae-hyun said quietly, "and they have the weapons to make their point." A Quellan representative raised one of her many arms. Her fish-like head moved from side to side as she spoke. "What do they want from us?" Bo-Ram activated another screen. Words appeared in the common galactic language. "They want us to recognize their independence. They want us to return what we have taken, and they want a formal apology for what they call decades of exploitation and theft. Never." The Draxan delegate was on his feet now. His reptilian face was red with anger. "We are the Galactic Council. We do not apologize to anyone, especially not to primitive apes from a backwater world." Many others agreed. They shouted and waved their arms or tentacles or wings. The noise grew louder and louder until Bo-Ram had to use the emergency silence button. "There is more," Tae-hyun said when the room was quiet again. "Intelligence reports say the humans are building more ships. Lots of them. Our spies counted. At least 300 vessels under construction in their home system." 300? Someone gasped. "And these are not the simple ships we have seen before. These are bigger, more advanced. Our analysts think they are preparing for a full invasion of council space." The chamber erupted again. This time the noise was pure panic. Representatives called for immediate evacuation. Others demanded they call in every available fleet. A few even suggested surrendering right away. Chairman Bo-Ram looked around the chaos and felt very old. In her 300 years of life, she had never seen the council so afraid. They were supposed to be the rulers of the galaxy. They had the best technology, the strongest fleets, and the wisest leaders. But somehow, a species that had only learned to travel between stars 50 years ago was making them all shake with fear. "What do we do?" asked a quiet voice. It belonged to a young Velkari named Yu-Jin. She was new to the council and had never seen war before. Bo-Ram looked at the destroyed fleets on the screen. She thought about the human message with its demands. She remembered all the times the council had ignored human protests about mining operations on their worlds. "I don't know," she said softly. "I honestly don't know." The meeting continued for hours, but no one could agree on anything. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to talk. A few wanted to run away and hide. Outside the station, space looked peaceful and calm, but everyone knew that somewhere out there, human ships were coming. Ships with weapons that could destroy anything the council put in their way. The galaxy was about to change forever, and no one was ready for what came next. 6 months before the emergency meeting at Nexus Prime, Admiral Jin Woo stood in front of a room full of Earth's most important people. The United Earth Command Center was deep underground, protected by thick walls and energy shields. Today, those protections felt necessary. Jin Woo was not a tall man, but when he spoke, everyone listened. His black hair was turning gray at the edges, and his face showed the lines of someone who had seen too much. He had been fighting for humanity's freedom for most of his adult life. "Show them the evidence," Jin Woo said to his aide. The large screen at the front of the room lit up. It showed pictures taken by hidden cameras on human colony worlds. The images made everyone in the room angry. Giant alien machines were digging huge holes in the ground. They took rare metals and crystals that humans needed for their own technology. Alien workers loaded the stolen materials onto massive ships that disappeared into space. "This has been happening for 60 years, Jin Woo said. His voice was calm, but his hands were tight fists. "They take what they want from our worlds. They never ask permission. They never pay for anything. When our people try to stop them, they are ignored or pushed aside." General Dongmin leaned forward in his chair. He was older than Jin Woo and had scars on his face from the colony wars. "How much have they stolen?" "Enough to build 1,000 cities," Jin Woo replied. "Enough to power their entire civilization for decades. Our colonies are poor because the aliens take everything valuable." A woman near the back of the room raised her hand. "What did they say when we complained?" Jin Woo's expression grew darker. "They said we were too primitive to understand galactic law." They said the materials were being used for the good of all species. They said we should be grateful they were helping develop our worlds. Grateful? General Dongmin's voice was like ice. For stealing from us. That's what they think of us, Jinwoo said. Commander Hye-jin will tell you what she found on her mission. Commander Hye-jin stepped forward. She was young for her rank, but she had proven herself in many dangerous missions. Her specialty was getting into places where humans were not supposed to go. 3 months ago, I led a team to infiltrate a council intelligence station, Hye-jin began. We found their files about humanity. What we learned will make you sick. The screen changed to show alien writing with human translations below it. Hye-jin read from her notes. According to council records, humans are classified as developing species class 7. That means we have basic intelligence but no real rights. They can do whatever they want to us as long as they don't kill too many of us at once. Angry voices filled the room. Someone threw a coffee cup at the wall. General Dongmin had to call for quiet. Hye-jin continued. They have detailed plans for our future. They want to keep us at our current technology level forever. They fear that if we advance too much, we might become a threat to them. Are we a threat? Asked someone from the back. Hye-jin smiled for the first time since she had started speaking. Dr. So-young will answer that question. Dr. So-young was the youngest person in the room. She looked like she should be in school, not in a top-secret military meeting. But her mind was one of the sharpest on Earth. She had been working on a project that would change everything. For the past 2 years, So-young said, I have been studying alien technology. The materials Commander Hye-jin brought back from her missions have been very helpful. I have learned something interesting about their weapons and shields. She touched a control pad, and the screen showed technical drawings that looked very complex. All alien technology works on the same basic principles, So-young explained. They use something called dimensional phasing. Their shields exist in normal space and protect against normal weapons. Their sensors look for normal energy signatures. What's your point? General Dongmin asked. So-young's smile was the same, one she had worn as a child when she solved difficult puzzles. My point is that their technology has a weakness. They never learned to use quantum tunneling. The room fell silent. Most of the people there were soldiers, not scientists. They didn't understand what quantum tunneling meant. Explain it simply, Jinwoo said. Imagine their shields are like walls, So-young said. Very strong walls that can stop any normal weapon. But what if we could build weapons that don't hit the wall? What if our weapons could appear on the other side of the wall without going through it? Is that possible? Someone asked. I've already built a prototype, So-young replied. A quantum tunneling torpedo that can hit any target regardless of distance or shielding. The weapon exists in multiple dimensions at once. When it reaches its target, it becomes solid in normal space. The enemy shields never even see it coming. The excitement in the room was obvious. For the first time in decades, humanity had a real advantage over the aliens who had been treating them like children. How many can you make? Jinwoo asked. With our current facilities, maybe 50 in the next 6 months, So-young said. But if we convert some of our industrial capacity, we could make thousands. General Dongmin stood up. And then what? We have better weapons, but they have bigger fleets. They have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We've only been in space for 50 years. Jinwoo had been waiting for this question. They have experience, but they also have weaknesses. Commander Hye-jin found something else in those alien files. Hye-jin nodded. The council species have not fought a real war in over 300 years. They are used to dealing with primitive enemies who can't fight back effectively. Their tactics are old and predictable. Their commanders think they know everything. They underestimate us, Jinwoo said. They think we are stupid animals who can barely use tools. That will be their biggest mistake. Dr. So-young cleared her throat. There's something else. The quantum tunneling technology can be used for more than just weapons. I can build communicators that can't be intercepted, sensors that can see through any kind of hiding, and engines that are faster than anything the aliens have." The room buzzed with excitement. People started talking about battle plans and construction schedules. For the first time in months, they felt hope. "What about diplomacy?" asked a voice from the corner. "Shouldn't we try to talk to them first?" Jinwoo's face hardened. "We have been trying to talk to them for 60 years. They don't listen. They don't care what we think. They treat us like pets who are getting too loud." General Dongmin nodded. "I received a message from their council last week. They said our complaints about the mining operations were noted but not actionable under current galactic law. In other words," Hae-jin added, "they told us to shut up and accept whatever they decide to do to us." Jinwoo looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. He saw anger, determination, and hope. "The Council thinks they can ignore us forever. They think we will never be strong enough to stop them. They are wrong." "What are you proposing?" General Dongmin asked, though he already knew the answer. "We give them a demonstration they will never forget," Jinwoo said. "We show them that humanity is not a species to be ignored. We make them understand that we demand respect, not as their subjects, but as their equals." The vote was unanimous. Earth would build Dr. So Young's weapons. They would train their fleets in new tactics, and when they were ready, they would teach. The Galactic Council that underestimating humanity was the biggest mistake they could make. Outside the underground meeting room, construction crews were already starting to work. Soon, human shipyards would be building the most advanced warships the galaxy had ever seen. Ships that could strike without warning and disappear without a trace. The aliens thought they knew everything about war. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Fleet Admiral Tae-hyun stood on the bridge of the massive battleship Eternal Glory. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of over 10,000 council ships. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. The fleet stretched across space like a metal ocean. Battleships the size of cities floated next to smaller destroyers and cruisers. Fighter squadrons buzzed between the larger vessels like angry insects. Every species in the council had contributed ships and crews. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "all fleet groups report ready for battle." Tae-hyun nodded. His blue skin had returned to its normal color now that he was back in command of a proper fleet. The panic at Nexus Prime seemed far away. Now, how could any enemy, even humans with their strange weapons, stand against such overwhelming force? "Send a message to the human fleet," Tae-hyun ordered. "Tell them they have one chance to surrender before we destroy them all." The response came back quickly. It was a simple message that made Tae-hyun's skin darken with anger. "Come and try." On the other side of the star system, Admiral Jinwoo looked at the alien fleet through his ship's sensors. His flagship, called Defiance, was much smaller than the alien battleships. The entire human fleet had only 300 ships compared to the Council's 10,000. "Admiral," said Captain Min-ho from his position at the tactical station, "they're forming into traditional battle lines, just like the old textbook said they would." Jinwoo smiled. The Council had been studying human military history, but they had only looked at Earth's ancient wars. They expected humans to fight like they had hundreds of years ago, with organized formations and predictable tactics. "Perfect," Jinwoo said. "Begin Operation Surprise. All ships are free to engage using Ghost Protocol." The human ships scattered in all directions. To the Council fleet, it looked like the humans were running away in panic. Tae-hyun ordered his ships to pursue and destroy the fleeing enemies, but the human ships weren't fleeing. They were using Dr. So Young's new quantum engines to move in ways that should have been impossible. They could change direction instantly without slowing down. They could disappear from sensors and reappear somewhere else seconds later. Captain Min-ho led Squadron 7 in the first attack. His 12 ships appeared behind a group of Council destroyers and fired their quantum torpedoes. The alien ships exploded before they even knew they were being attacked. "Impossible!" Tae-hyun shouted as he watched his destroyers vanish from the tactical display. "How did they get behind our formation?" Before anyone could answer, more human ships appeared in different parts of the Council fleet. They struck quickly and then disappeared again. Each attack destroyed several alien vessels, but the Council couldn't hit back because they couldn't predict where the humans would appear next. "Sir," called the sensor operator, "we're detecting massive quantum distortions throughout the fleet. The humans are using some kind of teleportation technology." Tae-hyun felt his confidence cracking. "Order all ships to form defensive circles. Concentrate our firepower." But the humans were already moving to their next phase. Commander Jae-sung led a boarding party that used quantum tunneling to appear inside a Council command ship. His Marines captured the bridge in minutes and sent out a broadcast on all Council frequencies. "This is Commander Jae-sung of the Earth Defense Force." His voice echoed through thousands of alien ships. "You came here thinking you could crush us with numbers. You thought we were primitive animals who couldn't fight back. You were wrong." The broadcast continued as Jae-sung's men took control of more systems. "For 60 years you have stolen from our worlds. You have treated us like children who don't deserve respect. You have ignored our protests and dismissed our rights. That ends today." On his flagship, Tae-hyun was getting reports from all over the fleet. Human forces had appeared inside dozens of ships. Some were taking prisoners, others were destroying critical systems. A few were even broadcasting messages directly to alien crews. "What are they saying?" Tae-hyun demanded. The translation officer looked nervous. "They're telling our crews about the mining operations on human worlds. They're showing evidence of how the Council has been exploiting primitive species for centuries." "That's classified information." "Not anymore, sir. They're broadcasting it on all frequencies. Every ship in the fleet is receiving the data." Young Lieutenant Yu Jin was serving on a Valkyrie cruiser when the human broadcast reached her ship. She watched in shock as evidence of Council crimes filled her screen. Pictures of strip-mined worlds, reports of enslaved populations, records of species driven to extinction for their resources. "This can't be true," she whispered to herself. But the evidence was overwhelming. The humans had stolen classified files, and were now sharing them with everyone. Yujin realized that everything she had been taught about the Council's noble mission was a lie. The battle was going badly for the Council fleet. Human ships continued to appear and disappear at will, striking targets and vanishing before anyone could respond. Traditional tactics were useless against an enemy that could ignore the normal rules of space combat. "Admiral," Captain Min-ho reported to Jin Woo, "Phase 1 is complete. We've destroyed 800 enemy vessels and captured 40 more. Our losses are minimal." "Excellent. Begin Phase 2. Target their command ships directly." Dr. So-young's quantum torpedoes had one more surprise. They could be programmed to seek out specific targets based on energy signatures. Jin Woo had ordered them to hunt for the largest and most heavily defended ships in the Council fleet. Tae-hyun's flagship suddenly shook as alarms rang throughout the bridge. "Report!" he shouted. "Quantum torpedo strike to the engine section," came the reply. "We've lost main power. Life support is failing." "How? Our shields are at full strength." "The torpedo came from inside the ship, sir. It materialized in our engine room and exploded." Tae-hyun stared in horror at his tactical display. The same thing was happening to command ships throughout the fleet. The humans weren't just attacking them. They were demonstrating that they could strike any target at any time without warning. The psychological effect was devastating. Council crews had trained to fight enemies they could see and understand. Fighting an opponent who could appear anywhere at any time was terrifying. Some ships tried to retreat, but the humans were ready for that too. Quantum mines appeared in the path of fleeing vessels, destroying them as they tried to escape. Other ships simply shut down their weapons and sent surrender signals. "Sir," the communications officer reported to Tae-hyun, "we're receiving surrender offers from 300. Ships. The crews are requesting immediate evacuation. Denied! We outnumber them 30-1. We can still win this. But even as he said it, Tae-hyun knew it wasn't true. The human weapons were too advanced, their tactics too unpredictable. His massive fleet was being destroyed by an enemy that should have been helpless against them. Admiral, Jin-woo's voice, suddenly filled the bridge of the eternal glory. I believe you wanted to talk. Tae-hyun spun around, looking for the source of the transmission. How are you on my bridge? I'm not, Jin-woo replied. I'm on my ship 3 light minutes away. But thanks to quantum communication technology, distance means nothing to us. The human admiral appeared as a hologram in the center of the council bridge. He looked calm and confident, not like someone whose fleet was supposedly being overwhelmed. You have 1 minute to order your remaining ships to stand down, Jin-woo said. After that, we will destroy every vessel in your fleet. You're bluffing, Tae-hyun snarled. You can't possibly have enough weapons to destroy 7,000 ships. Jin-woo smiled sadly. Admiral, you still don't understand what you're facing. Watch your sensors. Suddenly, Tae-hyun's tactical display lit up with thousands of new contacts. Quantum torpedoes were materializing throughout the council fleet, one next to every ship. They hung in space like glowing threats, waiting for the order to explode. Every torpedo is targeted at a critical system, Jin-woo explained. Engines, life support, weapons. We could destroy your entire fleet in the next 30 seconds, but we won't. Do you know why? Tae-hyun couldn't speak. His fleet was helpless, completely at the mercy of an enemy he had thought was primitive. Because, Jin-woo continued, we're not monsters like you thought we were. We don't enjoy killing. We just want you to understand that we demand respect. The council admiral looked around his bridge at the frightened faces of his crew. Young officers like Yu Jin stared at him, waiting for orders that could save their lives. Tae-hyun's voice cracked. I surrender. Good choice, Jin-woo said. Now you're going to help us deliver a message to the rest of the galaxy. Dr. So-young stood in her laboratory deep inside Earth's moon base. Around her, quantum torpedo production lines worked day and night. But today she was building something even more dangerous than weapons. She was building the truth. Are you sure this will work? Asked Major Hae-won, the Special Forces officer assigned to protect the lab. So-young nodded as she made final adjustments to a device that looked like a simple metal box. The quantum broadcast array will send our message to every inhabited world in the galaxy at the same time. They won't be able to block it or stop it. And you're certain about the targeting? The device will lock onto any artificial intelligence system, ship computers, planetary networks, communication satellites. Every screen, every speaker, every datapad in council space will receive our broadcast. Across the galaxy, Lieutenant, Yu Jin sat in her quarters aboard the damaged Valkyrie cruiser. Since the battle, she had been thinking about everything the humans had revealed. The evidence of council crimes kept playing in her mind like a terrible dream. Her door chimed, and Dr. Eun-seo entered. The elderly Quellan scientist had been studying humans for decades, but recent events had shaken her understanding of everything. Have you made a decision? Eun-seo asked, her fish-like face showing concern. Yu Jin held up a data pad containing classified council files. I've been reading the historical records, the mining operations, the enslaved species, the cover-ups. It goes back centuries, not just decades. That doesn't mean we should help the humans, Eun-seo said, though her voice lacked conviction. Doesn't it? Yu Jin turned to face her mentor. How many species have we destroyed? How many worlds have we stripped of resources while telling ourselves we were bringing civilization to primitive peoples? On Earth, Admiral Jin-woo reviewed the final preparations for humanity's greatest demonstration. His fleet had moved to the edge of council space, where massive shipyards built the tools of galactic oppression. Target identified, reported Captain Min-ho from the tactical station. The Zerion shipyard complex. 300 platforms capable of building dreadnought-class vessels. Distance: 12 light-years from our current position. Jinwoo smiled. Perfect range for Dr. So Young's latest surprise. Signal the fleet. Prepare for synchronized strike. In her lab, So Young activated the quantum broadcast device. Immediately, screens across the galaxy began showing a simple message. Citizens of the galaxy, you deserve to know the truth. Then the real show began. The quantum torpedoes that Jin Woo's fleet had been building were different from the weapons used in battle. These were designed not to destroy, but to demonstrate. They materialized simultaneously in 12 star systems, each one appearing next to a major council shipyard. But instead of exploding, they began to broadcast. Chairman Boram was in her office on Nexus Prime when every screen in the station suddenly showed the same image: a human woman in a simple white coat, standing in what looked like a laboratory. "My name is Dr. So Young," the woman said in perfect galactic standard language. "I am a quantum physicist from Earth. For the past year, I have been developing weapons that your leaders said were impossible to build." The image changed to show technical specifications that made Boram's 6 arms tremble. The human weapons were decades ahead of anything the Council had. "But I am not here to threaten you," So Young continued. "I am here to share something more powerful than any weapon. I am here to share the truth." The screens filled with documents, thousands of them, mining contracts that enslaved entire species, military reports about the destruction of primitive civilizations, economic analyses showing how the Council's wealth was built on theft and exploitation. On her damaged cruiser, Yujin watched in amazement as the evidence she had been collecting appeared on every screen throughout the fleet. But this wasn't just the human evidence. This was everything. Files that had been hidden for centuries. Records that proved the Council's corruption went back to its very founding. "How did they get all of this?" she whispered. Dr. Yoon Seo stared at the scrolling documents. "They didn't just steal our files during the battle. They've been collecting evidence for years. Every mining operation, every first contact, every development program. They documented it all." The broadcast continued. So Young's voice remained calm and professional as she explained each document, each crime, each cover-up. She spoke like a teacher giving a history lesson, but the history she taught was one of systematic oppression and murder. "The Council tells you they bring peace and prosperity to the galaxy," So Young said. "But look at these reports. In the past century alone, 17 species have gone extinct due to Council mining operations. 43 civilizations have been reduced to slavery. Over 1,000 worlds have been stripped of all valuable resources." Admiral Jin Woo watched the broadcast from his flagship. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. There was no celebration, no excitement. What they were doing was necessary, but it brought no joy. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're receiving messages from all over Council space. Some ships are requesting asylum, others are asking for proof that the documents are real." "Send them the authentication codes," Jin Woo ordered. "Every document carries quantum encryption that proves it came from official Council archives." The evidence was overwhelming. Not just numbers and reports, but personal messages between Council leaders discussing the best ways to exploit primitive species, video recordings of meetings where they laughed about the suffering they caused, financial records showing how stolen wealth was distributed among the ruling families. On Nexus Prime, emergency sessions were being called as representatives demanded explanations from their leaders, but many of those leaders were nowhere to be found. Some had fled to private ships, others had simply disappeared. Chairman Boram stood alone in the council chamber, watching as centuries of lies crumbled around her. She had known about some of the crimes, but not all of them. No one person could have imagined the scale of the corruption. "Madam Chairman," a young aide approached nervously, "the human admiral is requesting a direct communication." "Put him through," Boram said. She was too tired to feel fear anymore. Jinwoo's image appeared on the main screen. He looked tired, too, as if the weight of what he had revealed was crushing him as well. "Chairman Boram," he said formally, "I want you to understand something. We did not do this because we hate you. We did this because the galaxy deserves better." "What do you want from us?" Boram asked. "We want you to stop," Jinwoo replied simply. "Stop the mining operations. Stop treating primitive species like animals. Stop pretending that might makes right." "And if we refuse?" Jinwoo was quiet for a long moment. "Then we will stop you ourselves, but I hope it doesn't come to that." The broadcast was entering its final phase. Dr. So Young appeared on screen again, but this time she was not alone. Behind her stood humans of all ages and backgrounds, scientists, soldiers, farmers, children. "We know what it's like to be treated as less than equal," So Young said. "We know what it feels like to have more powerful beings decide our fate without asking our opinion. We will not let that continue. Not for us, and not for any other species." She held up a small device that looked like a crystal. "This is quantum communication technology. We are giving it freely to every species in the galaxy. No one will ever again be cut off from the rest of the universe. No one will ever again be isolated and helpless." Lieutenant Yujin felt tears running down her face as she watched the humans offer their most advanced technology to the very people who had been their enemies just days before. "They're not conquering us," she said to Dr. Yunseo. "They're trying to free us." On thousands of worlds, beings who had never been allowed to speak to the galactic community suddenly found themselves connected to a vast network of voices. Species that had been enslaved for generations began coordinating their resistance. Worlds that had been strip-mined started demanding justice. The old order was crumbling, and in its place, something new was beginning to grow. "The choice is yours," Dr. So Young concluded her broadcast. "You can continue to support a system built on exploitation and lies, or you can help us build something better. A galaxy where every species is treated with respect, where technology is shared freely, and where no one is considered primitive just because they are different." The transmission ended, but its effects would last forever. Chairman Boram looked around the empty council chamber and realized that the galaxy had just changed in ways that could never be undone. The humans had not just defeated the council's fleets. They had defeated the very idea that some species were superior to others. And somehow, despite everything, she found herself hoping they would succeed in building the better world they promised. The old council chamber on Nexus Prime had been rebuilt. Where once only the 12 ruling species had seats, now there were places for representatives from over 200 worlds. The chamber buzzed with voices speaking in dozens of languages, all united by the quantum translation network that humanity had shared freely. Admiral Jin Woo stood at the center podium where Chairman Boram had once tried to maintain order in a system built on lies. Today, he faced a very different audience. Former slaves sat next to their former masters. Species that had been considered primitive now had equal voices with those who had once ruled over them. "Friends," Jinwoo began, and the word carried weight because it was true. 6 months ago, we were enemies. Today, we are something that has never existed before in galactic history. We are equals." Scattered applause came from various sections of the chamber. It was still strange for many beings to see humans as anything other than the primitive species from a backwater world. Lieutenant Yu Jin, now promoted to ambassador, sat in the Velkari section. Beside her, Dr. Yoon Seo took notes on a data pad. The old scientist had become one of humanity's strongest allies after seeing the evidence of council crimes. "The new Galactic Assembly," Jinwoo continued, "will not be ruled by the strongest or the oldest species. It will be guided by principles that protect everyone, no matter how small their world or how young their civilization." In the audience, Beings who had never been allowed to speak in galactic politics raised their hands, with questions. A small, furry creature from a world that had been strip-mined for centuries stood up. "What about justice?" the being asked in a squeaky voice. "What about punishment for those who hurt us?" Jinwoo nodded seriously. "Justice will come, but not through revenge. We have established the Truth Commission, led by beings from worlds that suffered under the old system. They will investigate every crime and ensure that the victims are compensated." Former Chairman Boram sat in the back of the chamber. She had aged greatly in the past months, but she had also found something she had lost long ago: hope. "Admiral Jinwoo," she called out, "what guarantee do we have that humanity won't become the new oppressors?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Many beings waited to hear how the humans would respond to the fear that they might simply replace the Council as the galaxy's rulers. Jinwoo smiled sadly. "Chairman Boram, that is exactly the right question to ask. And the answer is simple. We won't let ourselves become what we fought against." Dr. So Young entered the chamber carrying a familiar metal box. The quantum broadcast device that had revealed the Council's crimes now served a different purpose. "This device will monitor every government in the galaxy," So Young explained as she placed it on the central table. "Every law, every decision, every official action will be recorded and shared with all member worlds. No one will ever again be able to hide crimes against other species." "Including humanity?" asked a reptilian delegate from the Draxan worlds. "Especially humanity," So Young replied. "Power corrupts everyone eventually. The only way to prevent it is to make sure that power cannot be hidden." Commander Hyajin stood up from the human section. She now led the Assembly's new exploration division, dedicated to finding species that might still be suffering under hidden oppression. "We have already found 12 worlds where mining operations continued in secret after the Council's defeat," she reported. "The operations have been shut down and the populations freed. We are using quantum scanners to search the entire galaxy for similar situations." The chamber filled with excited chatter as beings realized that the humans were actively hunting down the remnants of the old system. Captain Minho, now an admiral himself, gestured for quiet. "The days of pretending not to see injustice are over. Every species in this assembly has agreed to report any oppression they discover. We will respond, together as equals." A young being from a recently contacted world raised her hand. "What about species that don't want to join the assembly? Will you force them?" Director Sung Min, humanity's first official ambassador to the assembly, answered this question. "Never. One of the fundamental principles of the new Galactic Assembly is the right of every species to choose their own path. We will offer friendship, trade, and protection, but we will never force anyone to accept our help." "What if they threaten other species?" pressed another delegate. "Then we will stop them," Admiral Jinwoo said firmly. "But only to protect the innocent. We will never attack first, and we will never take more than is necessary to end the threat." Major Hae-won, now General of the Assembly's Defensive Forces, nodded in agreement. "Our military exists only to protect, not to conquer. Every action we take will be approved by representatives from at least 100 worlds." The discussion continued for hours as the new government took shape. Species that had been enemies for centuries worked together to create laws that would protect everyone. It was messy and loud and sometimes confusing, but it was also fair in a way the galaxy had never experienced. During a break, Chairman Boram approached Jinwoo privately. "I have to ask," she said, "why did you spare us? Your weapons could have destroyed every council world. You could have simply taken over and ruled us directly." Jinwoo looked out through the chamber's vast windows at the stars beyond. "Because that's what the old council would have done. We didn't fight to become the new masters. We fought to make sure no one would ever be a master again." "But surely you must want something for your people," Boram pressed. "Some advantage, some special treatment." "We want what everyone wants," Jinwoo replied. safety for our families, freedom to choose our own destiny, and respect from our neighbors. The difference is, we believe everyone deserves those things, not just humans. As the assembly session continued, Dr. So Young presented her greatest gift to the galaxy, the complete quantum technology database. Everything humanity had developed was being shared freely with all species. "But why?" asked a delegate from the Manthari worlds. "This technology could have made you the richest species in the galaxy." So Young looked puzzled by the question. What good is wealth if your neighbors are poor? What good is advanced technology if others suffer without it? We are all stronger when we work together. The revolutionary idea that technology should be shared rather than hoarded was difficult for many species to understand. For thousands of years, advanced civilizations had maintained their power by keeping their knowledge secret. Admiral Yan Su, who had taken over the Assembly's peacekeeping fleet, stood to address this concern. The quantum communication network now connects every inhabited world in the galaxy. When a species develops something new, they can choose to share it with everyone instantly. Imagine how quickly we could solve problems like disease, hunger, or energy shortages if every mind in the galaxy could work on them together. The implications were staggering. Instead of each species struggling alone with their problems, the entire galaxy could function as a single vast research community. "There will be growing pains," Jin Wu admitted. "Some species will advance, faster than others. Some will choose to remain isolated. But for the first time in galactic history, that will be their choice, not something forced on them by more powerful neighbors." As the day progressed, the basic framework of the new galactic assembly was approved. Every species would have equal representation regardless of size or technological advancement. Decisions affecting multiple worlds would require broad consensus. Military action would only be taken to protect the innocent. Most importantly, a new principle was established that had never existed before: the right of every intelligent being to determine their own fate. The old galaxy was ruled by fear, Jin Wu said in his closing speech. Fear of being conquered, fear of being left behind, fear of those who were different. The new galaxy will be built on hope. Hope that we can work together, hope that our differences make us stronger, and hope that our children will inherit a universe where no one is considered primitive just because they are different. The Assembly voted unanimously to approve the new government. Even former council leaders like Boram raised their hands in support, understanding that this was their chance to build something better than what they had destroyed. As beings filed out of the chamber to return to their homeworlds, many wondered if this new system would really work. Could species that had been enemies for millennia truly learn to cooperate? Could the strong resist the temptation to dominate the weak? Time would tell, but for the first time in galactic history, there was reason to hope. Commander Haye Jin stood, with her mixed species exploration team, preparing to depart for the far rim of the galaxy where unknown civilizations might still need liberation. Dr. So Young worked with alien scientists to develop new technologies that could benefit everyone. Admiral Jin Wu planned defensive strategies that would protect without oppressing. The humans had kept their promise. They had not become the new rulers of the galaxy. Instead, they had shown everyone else how to rule themselves. And in the depths of space, on worlds both primitive and advanced, beings looked up at the stars and dreamed of a future where their voices would be heard, their choices would be respected, and their children would be free.